So nobody sat me down when I was, around 15, 16, not even 18 or 19 years old, and asked, what do you want your life to look like? It was more like, happy birthday, and now you work. Welcome to adulthood. Go get a job so you can pay for all this crap until you're old. So, nobody, not my parents, not a teacher, not a guidance counselor, not my Boy Scout leader, not one single adult in my whole life sat across from me and said, all right, before you go do this, what do you actually want? What I got instead was just, you're an adult now, go get a job. I mean, that was it. Pretty much that was the entire conversation. Go to work. Nobody asked if I really wanted to get a job. They didn't care whether I wanted to get a job. It was just, I guess, assumed. You're old enough now, so go. Now, before I go any further, because I know exactly where this could sound like it's headed, and that's not, it's not where I'm taking it. This isn't about me sitting here at the age of 50 and saying that my life was a mistake. It's not me saying that I regret my marriage or my kids or any of that. Because what's been sitting with me lately is something different. And it's a little harder for me to explain than, I just wish things were different. It's this. It's being glad about where your life ended up and actually choosing that life in the first place. Those are two completely different things. And here's what really gets me when I think about it. Everybody talks about adulthood like it's this one big moment, although it's technically, a series of moments. You've got work, then relationship, then marriage, then kids, in that order, and at some reasonable pace, and also with some time in between, to think those things over. Well, that's not how it went for me, not even close, because I had my first daughter at 16, my second at 19. So by that time, the same time where everybody else, my age is being told, go get a job now, I was already a father twice over. So the sequence didn't wait for me to catch up. And life just kept stacking one thing on top of the next before I'd even had a real conversation with myself about any of it. So let's sit in that for just a second. Because even if I didn't have kids by the time, I was an adult, you've got school, and that's, 12, 13 years of school. And at no point, during that time does anybody sit you down and go, here's what real adult life is actually going to ask of you. Here's what it costs. Here's how fast it can move. Here's what it means to be somebody's parent before you've even figured out who you are yourself. That whole part just kind of gets glazed over. Instead, you get algebra, you get a paragraph about the branches of the government, you get biology, all the courses, but you don't get, here's how to think clearly about the biggest decisions of your entire life before they're already made. And then you turn 18, 19, and the actual world just starts happening to you, whether you are ready to think about it or not. I mean, think about it. At what point did you actually decide any of your life? Not agree to it, not go along with it, decide it. Actually sit down, weigh some options, and choose it on purpose. Because I can't find that moment. What I can find is a long line of next things. Work, because you're old enough now. Provide, because there's a kid now. Work more, because there's another kid now. Keep going, because that's just what you do. And every single piece of it, it makes sense when you look at it up close, but when I step back and I look at the whole shape of it, it looks less like a life I built on purpose and more like a life that kept happening while I was just trying to keep up with it. Now, I want to be honest with you here. All right. I love my wife. I chose to marry her, and I've been married for 16 years, and I am still in love with her right now today. But that doesn't mean that we've had a smooth ride. I mean, there have been some turbulent times. That's real. But loving where I landed and wishing I could go back and change how I got there, those aren't the same thing. And I used to think that they had to be. I used to think that if you loved your life and the people in your life, that you weren't allowed to also wish parts of it went differently. To me, that's not true. I think both things can exist at the same time for you. For instance, I was married once before and later divorced. So I had a whole other life before I married again. So are there things that I wouldn't mind changing if I could? Absolutely. There are decisions I made in my younger days that led up to a car accident that I was involved in at 19. I mean, I won't walk you through all of it, but I'll tell you this. If I could go back and make a different call before that day, I would in a heartbeat. No hesitation. Let's go further back. Like I said, I had my first daughter at 16, my second at 19. And there are nights, not a ton of them, but there are nights where I ask myself, if I could, would I go back and stop myself from impregnating the mother of my kids? Not because I don't love my kids, I do. That's not in question. And I need you to hear that part as clearly as the hard part. But loving who someone became once they were already here doesn't erase the honest question of whether I was ready, whether the world was ready, whether 16 was ever supposed to even be an age where that decision gets made at all. I mean, come on, let's look at the state of things now in the world. What it costs to raise a kid. What kind of world we're actually handing them. So yes, I mean, some nights the honest answer is yes. I'd go back and I'd stop it before it ever started. And I know that probably makes some of you uncomfortable. Hell, it makes me uncomfortable saying it. But I believe that loving your kids and wishing you'd had them under completely different circumstances, at a completely different point in your life, in a completely different world, those can both be true at the same time. But nobody talks about it that way. Everybody acts like you have to pick one. Like saying something even close to, I wish I made a different choice when it comes to my kids, that it automatically makes you out to be a bad guy. Someone who doesn't love their kids and simply wishes they weren't born, even though that isn't the case. So you've got kids, you've got work, you've got relationships, all of which at some point in your life, I'm sure you've looked back and said, damn, what the hell was I thinking? If only I knew. If only I knew that most people are only thinking about themselves and will disappoint you. If only I knew that corporations and jobs could care less about whether or not you break down as long as their bottom line is met. If only I knew that the cost of living will never be less than what most people earn working full time. If only I knew that retirement is not guaranteed even if you work 30 to 40 years of your life, and many people go to their graves still having to work. If only I knew, if only I knew. Like, how many times have you said that? And do you think somewhere along the way, preferably before you became an adult, it would have been nice if someone sat you down and really laid it out? The hard truths about adulthood, the choices you'd have to end up making, and the potential outcomes for making those choices? I'm sure it happens here and there, but not for many. I mean, this system we live in, spends so much time on pointless crap for over a decade of your life, teaching you things that you will never use later on. And then when you hit that magical adulthood number, they push you out into the world. And sadly, I'm guilty of it too, because I've also raised my kids following the same ridiculous playbook that most follow. And now they're adults. Again, if only I knew. So, did I really choose this life? Did you really choose yours? Or did you just look up one day like I did and this is it? Let me know where your head's at with this one. And I'll see you in the next one.